Welcome to the 5th episode of the World's Prediction Show. It is time for quarterfinals. We've officially made it out of Swiss. We're going to be reviewing in this episode the gang's successes and failures across the last day of Swiss, but we're also going to be looking forward to quarters, which will take place in just a couple of days as we record this. Of course, thank you to Prize Picks for incepting the idea of this show into my brain so that we could create the World's Prediction Show. Joining me, and we'll do a quick refresher because we got a lot to talk about. Cubby, my co-host from Hotline League. Good to see you, Cubby.
Yeah, good to be here.
We just did Hotline League, so he's rolling into coming up on his second 2.5 hours of Travis Gafford time for him. It's
6-hour stream on Cubby XX today too.
Oh my gosh!
So
yeah, you've been in that chair for a while.
I'm gonna sleep good tonight.
Next up, joining us is Elias. Elias, who was a writer on the LCS for many, many years, also a writer on Players, and has been playing Prize Picks since, I think, February is when you introduced me to it, yes?
Yeah, immediately when I did not work at Riot.
Yes, as soon as he stopped working at Riot, he was able to start playing, and he did. And last but not least, though maybe last in the standings, I don't know, is Croissant, joining us formerly of NRG on the coaching and general management side. How's it going, Croissant?
Very good. Definitely in last. So that's me.
Well, we'll see if today can change that at all. So let's talk about the final day of games. We had, I guess we should just do the normal. Raise your hand if you thought that. Oh, wait, I need to pull up the full schedule. Where are we? I want to make sure I get them right. I'm trying to remember in what order the games happened.
Yeah.
Who played first that day? Oh, yeah. Okay, raise your hand if you thought that DK, or sorry, if you thought that DK was going to win. All right. And the winner was Weibo. So congratulations to Croissant. Any surprises there, I guess, or obviously there were surprises. Cubby and Elias, what went wrong?
Game 3.
Yeah. I do remember feeling like that series was going to come down to mid lane, and did it?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I went into that series thinking that Weibo would win, but my picks weren't working, and D Plus was my tournament dark horse, so I went with them, and that was wrong. Like, Weibo would win, like, based on tape that I saw for the tournament. That was true, so.
Okay. All right. Next up. Go ahead, Croissant.
I mean, I did think that Weibo was going to win, but not in that fashion. I was pretty surprised that Breathe carried in the way that he did, and he also got Gnar again after I ranted about how I didn't understand why teams were giving it to him, and it was one of his best champions, and specifically Fnatic giving him Gnar instead of Rumble. But also Tarzan busting out the Morgana, always cool to see. I think there was obviously a lot less discussion on that pick than some of the other wacky picks, because it's a little bit more common than Nunu and Khaled. But it is nice because Tarzan has been struggling, and for him to bust that out gives me hope for flexibility going into the quarters matchups. So
raise your hand if you thought that G2 was going to win. All right, so Cubby and Elias really struggling so far in the standings on this because they lost. BLG won.
The LCS team, you know.
Yeah, Croissant. Yeah. Why did BLG win? You believed in them.
Well, that was also not how I expected it to play out, because both Jun and Yike played their first Skarners of the tournament, I believe, and Jun got it twice. And since Contracts is or was in the chat, I think it's funny because I've been seeing Contracts prio it really highly way before. I mean, he's just really ahead on it, and it was just crazy to see Sedge Kled. The whole thing they're supposed to do is win 2v2 first round, and they just got destroyed by Yon Skarner. And obviously, FlyQuest out. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I get that's
immediately went for that game.
Yeah, for G2 BLG, yeah, they both played Skarner, and BLG did get it twice, the same way that FlyQuest got it twice in game 1 and 3. So, yeah, big moves.
Yeah. All right.
Gap.
Final question here. Who thought that FlyQuest was going to win? Raise your hand. All right, all three of you were correct. FlyQuest won. Cubby, you're wearing a FlyQuest shirt. Why did FlyQuest beat Team Liquid?
In the words of Croissant, also not the way that I thought the series would go. Because TL got a big game. I don't know. I think that TL, I guess it kind of did come out the way that we thought, because I felt like Quad was just in much better form than APA this tournament. Game 3 is a bit of a whatever. But I think I don't even remember game 1 if I'm being real. Yeah, how did they win game 1? Because like game 2 was a stomp, game 1 was kind of a stomp.
Game 1 was the Tom Kench, Lulu,
Oh,
Skarner stuff.
Oh yeah, that draft. We were talking about that draft in our chat. That draft, I actually thought it was okay because TL could deny a lot of the engage and get prio early, but then they way over extended into the FlyQuest comp, and FlyQuest did a very good job of bending and not breaking that game.
And specifically in the bending not breaking side of it, their game plan, even when they were a little bit behind, was so very clear, which is focus APA, unfortunately. And like that paid out in dividends. They could literally just move anywhere as a result for the game 1 anyway.
Yeah. Well, LCS moves forward in Worlds as we all expected in this incredibly difficult path for them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about how these three lineups did, because all three of these folks placed lineups based off of how those matches were going to be played out and what each player's projections were going to be, or for their lineup specifically. If you are not familiar with Prize Picks, we'll talk more about how it works during the later on in the show as we get to looking forward to the next lineups. But for those that haven't, you can check out the link in the description if you're watching the VOD, or if you can click the link right now if you're watching live. Use code Travis when you do sign up. It's going to be really helpful. But basically the way this works is you're going to create a lineup where you project an individual player's kills or assists in a couple of the games, the first 2 or going forward to the first 3. And that's what your projection is. So if you think you're smart about the game and you think you know how it's going to go, this is a great way to prove it. Let's see how smart our contestants are. Croissant, let's just get yours out of the way first, so that we could fit you out of your misery. What was your lineup?
Out of the way.
Okay, that's fucked up as someone who got 3-0 on the match score predictions and all that, but yeah, I went 1-1 on my lineups, or 0.
What was your lineup?
If you count them as a collective. Quad did get 13 kills, more than 6.5, but Umpty got less.
Umpty got 6.
More than 3.5, and I had him as less than 3.5. And I think Umpty has already gotten enough hate for not being. So I don't think he should be criticized for stealing a bunch of kills on Nocturne again. But yeah, happens.
Yeah. Why do you think? What went wrong for you? Was it just the Nocturne stuff?
I said specifically, Umpty is not going to get more than 3.5 unless he gets Nocturne again, which FlyQuest definitely is not going to let happen. But they let it happen, so it is what it is.
As you take a giant swig from your Topo Chico. All right.
The only thing that makes me feel better.
That is a Croissant L, so we'll give him the L stamp for his window for the rest of the game, or for the rest of the show and the game.
It actually stays on for the whole show. That's something I didn't know that was the case until I went back and like skimmed through.
Yes.
Looking for timestamps where I said but
it's a permanent marker, so that's why it's so important. You know, more than the money that you could win or lose, it's the pride of having a trophy. Next up, we have Elias. Elias, what was your lineup?
My lineup was Lucid, getting more than 4 kills, and the Quad Masu combo of 14.5, and I believe they would get more. And the results were that Quad Masu square did hit. I believed in them. And the Lucid one was short by 1 kill. So that makes it a loss.
1 kill. That's brutal. Any insight as to what went wrong besides, I guess it's just you not the right champion, or?
I don't. It was definitely not the wrong champion, because Lucid played a Nocturne game and a Lee game. It was just the problem is he got 0 kills on the Nocturne game. So game 1 he's at 3, and I'm like, this is easy. Like, oh my gosh, it just prints money. and I was unbelievably wrong.
Yeah.
Especially because if you were to ask me if Prize Picks did like champion squares and they were like, here's Nocturne, 0.5 is the square, I would always pick the over. I don't know how there are games where Nocturne doesn't get a kill, and so that broke my heart genuinely.
Yeah. All right, Cubby, you have yet to win a single one of these. What was your lineup
Travis.
this time?
I believe I had light more than 9 kills and quad more than 6.5 as well.
Yes,
so
you did.
The quad 1 hit and light got 10 kills. So I am a victor, Travis.
So you won. Cubby
what
is
are we now? Like 2-10 as like 2.
I know. I think okay. So it's 2-10. Yes, because we've had 12 plays so far. You guys have won less than 20% of them. So
Good job, team.
yes,
Good job.
Yes,
I will say that I had 2 other lineups that would have hit if Yike got 1 more kill, and I know that we put that one up to vote for the chat, and chat ended up going less at the last second, and it was 4.5 to get 4 kills. So chat was right. At the end I was like, oh, I kind of regret taking Moors, and if I did, I would have. If I took the less, I would have had a nice week on Prize Picks.
Well, Cubby, just as a quick
statement.
As a quick aside, do you want to talk? I know you said it before we were recording, but do you want to talk about the other major prize pick that you won that I trailed you on and also won?
Oh yes, Travis with the trailing comment. That's good. Yeah. So I had a couple actually because tell
me the big one, the crazy odds one.
Yeah. So it was a football one. So I had Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert for more than passing yards, but Prize Picks, they sometimes offer 3 different squares. So like within the square, you can change it to be a friendlier.
They give them a long odds kind of thing. I think it's the best way to describe
like a friendlier number or a more aggressive number. So for that, I took the more aggressive one and more on each of the passing yards, and that they both hit. So that one actually paid out 8x for those 2 picks.
Yeah, Cubby was like, I think this will hit, and I'm like, I don't know anything about football, but I'll use $20 of my promo credit on it, and I got $160 off of it. So thank you, Cubby.
Yeah, I will also say, I'm only saying this because it was a Prize Picks deal. They had a couple Halloween deals where they're discounting their original square. So they had one for Garrett Cole where it was 4.5 strikeouts, and they changed it to 3.5. I picked more, and he got 4 strikeouts, and that one hit along with Derrick Henry getting a rushing TD, which he's done in every game so far this season, including the last one. So I got a payout on that too. So we're
losing viewers on this T Sports. I gave you one, and then you took more. You know,
it was a Prize Picks feature, Travis. I had to highlight it. You know,
to defend Cubby, if you have a T Sports oriented friend, if you add just one of those squares, you astronomically improve payouts on Prize Picks. They want you to mix and match esports with T Sports. So while, again, like Cubby was saying things, and I would just be like, that's nice. However, if you have one of your friends who does stuff like that, and just be like, all right, well, if I show you this square, what's the deal? You all of a sudden get these like really, really great like times 15 kind of payout lineups.
Yeah, I think it depends on what we're looking at, but yeah, there are some fun ways to mix and match. All right, Chat. Do you remember, chat? I know you're all still here. That I asked you all to make a lineup, and you did. We did a poll, and I submitted it as a flex play, which means we only needed to hit 2 of the 3 squares. So the 3 squares were Crisp at 18.5 assists. You all said he'd get more than 18.5. He got 27, chat. He got 27. Chat, then I asked you, would Yike get less or more than 4.5? You said less. He got 4, so just barely less, but less. So already there we had a win. But then I also asked you, would APA get more or less than 7.5 kills? You all said less. He got 4. So chat, you went 3 for 3 on a flex play. You are doing better than Croissant, chat. All right, like That's how good you are.
I
You're
thought we
tied with
agreed to say
Cubby.
that between the three of us, we've gotten 2 wins, and I don't think that chat has gotten 2 wins yet. Right?
That's true, but you guys have gotten considerably more attempts than they have. So good
Incredible.
job, chat. Congratulations. You all deserve some pats on the back, but good job to all of you for coming up with that. But I did play that as a $5 flex play, and I ended up winning $11.25. So more than double the money. Thank you, chat. You're now, I think, 1 in 3. I don't think we did it 1 out of 3 because I don't think we did the first show. Whatever. Anywho, we're gonna get into the next set of matches. So we're gonna do 4 shows for quarterfinals, which means that this episode will mostly be focused on the first match that we're gonna see, which is LNG Weibo, which plays on Thursday Pacific,
God.
or actually I guess Thursday everywhere, maybe except for maybe in the East. I don't know. Either way, we'll do that. But I did offer my contestants here a chance to make lineups that include multiple things from across quarterfinals. So if they want to have stuff from the other games, that'll be something we'll talk
Thank
about.
you.
But first, let's talk about LNG Weibo. So, Cubby, who do you have winning in LNG Weibo and in how many games?
Oh shit. I have LNG 3-2. Because it is an LPL series, which means it must go to 5. And if you were an LPL playoffs enjoyer, you know. I don't think the Weibo is played well enough to warrant this from a tape standpoint. I'm taking this based on domestic results, and frankly, as part of my content this week, I'm planning on going through, I believe, LNG and Weibo face in LPL playoffs, if memory serves correct, and Weibo beat them, which was an upset at the time. But LNG looked really good. Like, they've honestly been the surprise of the tournament so far, just because no one really knew what sort of form that they would be in, but their form has been fantastic in the tournament so far. I think that the melee mid meta being available for Scout is big time, and they did drop to Weibo 3-2 in LPL playoffs, now that I look and I can have it confirmed. But I think that they will be the ones that are the victors this time around. So, yeah.
Okay, so you have LNG 3-2.
Yes.
Elias, LNG or Weibo?
I'm gonna follow my trend of always agreeing with Cubby, but it's LNG. But I have LNG 3-1. Like,
Okay.
I do agree that, like, it is an LPL series, so it is going to be bloody. But for the same reasons Cubby is going for LNG, I'm like, LNG looked really good. And the moment you do a little digging into the champion pools for some of these players, you're just like, this is one of the best metas for you. So it's, to me, really tough to see the Weibo side.
Yeah. All right. So you've got LNG in at 3-1. Croissant, I know last time you did really well by disagreeing with these guys on almost all of the matches. So you're going to do the same thing here?
Heavily considering it, just coming up with my answer last second. But it's been pretty back and forth with these teams. I was trying to look a bit more closely at the drafts, and it's really weird because their pools are different across the board, pretty much. And LNG, having been one of the first teams to get out with 3-0, you'd think that they should be able to come in and beat Weibo with stuff that they've been prepping. I'm going to give it to Weibo, though. I bet on them the last 2 times, and they won. So I'm going to give it to Weibo 3-2.
Okay, so you are disagreeing with them.
Yeah, I was still not sure as I was speaking. But I think Weibo's been actually doing a better job of I think Weibo knows how to use their blue side advantage. I think the weird thing is that LNG is going into the series starting off on blue, or they have side select, but they've only played 4 games on red side, whereas Weibo has won 3 games on blue side. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I'm not really confident in LNG's jungler to necessarily show that he can play Skarner because they hadn't been prioritizing it. But it's actually not that hard, so we'll see.
Yeah. I will say the jungle matchup is my biggest concern because it did look like when backs were up against the wall for Weibo, they put Tarzan back on carries, and that was really good for them. And I think that's what got this team all the way to the LPL finals. That wasn't expected from them, but Tarzan was just too insane, and it was in the AP jungle meta. So I think that, like in the D plus series, I do feel like Weibo showed something by going down 0-1, putting him back on AP carries, and that was really big for them as a team. So I if there's any wrinkle and like any way that I have them getting the 3-2 in this series and having LNG win, but pushing it to 5, I do think it's going to be around Tarzan and playing carries. So yeah.
Yeah. I looking at all the matchups for this week, I do actually think this is the toughest one to predict. I don't know if you guys feel similarly or different. I know maybe the T1 TES match is a tough one too, but for me, I feel like this is the one that would be the biggest toss up for me. So
it is LPL matchup.
Yeah.
You just never know, you know?
Yeah. All right.
I think T1 TES is just as hard.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our lineups. So again, folks, thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. If you would like to put in any of the lineups that you're about to hear, head on over to the link in the description or the one that you can grab in chat right now by doing !Prize Picks. When you do, use code Travis. That's going to be a thing where basically the first time you make a play of $5 or more, win or lose, you can lose, and then they're going to give you $50 in promo credit so that you can keep playing or have some fun with it or whatever. So thank you to Prize Picks for doing this. It's really neat. And yeah, the way this works is we're going to create lineups here for these 3 guests. I did tell them that they could do lineups that include, this is the first time we've done this, that include squares from multiple days of matches. So if they wanted to, they can do that. We'll figure out a fun way to track that. We'll see maybe if their lineups are still alive as we go on through the case of quarters. I think after that we'll probably start to hone in on some daily lineups or something. But for at least this first time, I think it'd be kind of fun for them to assemble some squares across multiple games. So I don't know if all of them did that or not, but we're gonna find out. So let's see, who should we start with? Elias, let's start with you. We're gonna start to assemble a lineup. What do you got?
So I did do off days, mostly because, and I'm curious if Croissant or Cubby could find a Weibo square they liked, but I really couldn't.
Oh, I got one.
You got one? Okay, I'm excited to hear what that is. But for me, I saw and this might be like fanboy, which is going to be a real big issue if this busts. But Gala's square was at 14, and I took the over on that one. He's just a superstar, and I genuinely believe that one, the team is really good at letting him go crazy when they start taking over the map. I drifted off for a moment. But also on top of that, I do think Crisp has been a little inty, and I think that's going to end up playing in favor of LNG. And my other square was a Peanut assist square, which was at
we should
26.5.
Say a couple things. One, they have a huge list of assists, which is way more than they had previously, so you can go check out that.
Right.
And I think they're doing some of this extra. The other thing is that this is across 3 games. So remember, everyone, I made this mistake earlier in the group chat. We're so used to the idea of these numbers being based out of 2 games, but now that we're in best of 5, these squares are based off of how we think the players are going to do in the first 3. So, sorry, you said a Peanut assist square.
Yes, it was at 26.5.
And more or less?
More,
okay.
Yeah.
And is this
Peanut's been everywhere.
Okay.
I think he's been playing super well. This feels like, I think as the tournament sort of narrows into their top 4, we're going to see junglers that feel like they're everywhere on the map. I think Peanut will be somebody who can capitalize on that. I'm really happy they're adding assist squares for junglers, because that feels more indicative of how I can predict how the jungle matchups are going to play out. Because unfortunately, most times I'm rolling the dice on is this a Nocturne game, or maybe this is their Sejuani angle or whatever. or even Wukong, which like can last hit, but not quite in the same way. Assist squares for junglers are something that I'm really excited to capitalize on, and specifically junglers who I think will outpace in the first 3 matches and capitalize.
And you're only picking 2 squares.
Yes, for this one.
Okay, cool. So we've got Elias with Gala at more than 14 kills in the first 3 games, and Peanut at more than 26.5 assists in the first 3 games. Locking it in. All right. Next up, let's go with Croissant. Croissant, what you got?
I'm just really trying to find a way that I can win one lineup. All right. I think I'm going to...
You don't have this locked in already?
No, I did not have it locked in. But here, because I'm going back and forth on it, I actually am having remorse about my previous prediction on team wins because Breathe is 4-0 on Gnar and has lost on basically everything else except one game. So
right.
and LNG's been banning Gnar in a lot of their games. So I think actually one of my squares is going to be Breathe less than 11.5 assists because I think when Breathe is on Renekton or Jax, he just does not get involved to the same degree as he does on Gnar. And so I think 11.5 assists is actually going to be a pretty high bar for him to hit, which he will not. And then conversely, I am going to go with Scout at over 18.5 assists.
Okay. Ooh, is this a full assist lineup?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
I will.
The Scout one
say-
is risky because there's a chance that he just starts picking up a ton of kills instead of assists in the game. So there's an argument for like Hung or Weiwei, like in support and jungle. But yeah.
So breathe less than 11.5 assists and Scout more than 18.5. You're saying
less than 11.5 and Scout more than 18.5. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cubby, you're gonna say something.
I have been I just wasn't thinking about the assist squares before, and I've been thinking about them a lot more now.
Yeah.
And I do have. I'll talk about it more with the lineup that I have because I do have one lineup.
Gotcha. Elias, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think top laner assists are going to be something I have to look more closely into. Because it's not something I considered, but you talked about earlier in one of our earlier episodes, Travis, like, do you only ever look for squares where you hit more? And it's like, it's sort of incidental because you look for players you're interested in looking at, and typically they're overperforming. So you're looking for the more squares. But now I really do want to zero in on the most isolated top laners I can find. And I don't have one for today, but there is a part of me that's like, what's Bwipo's assist square at? Is like my first thought. But that's what I have as a reaction to that. It's a really smart role to look at.
As a non-analyst, I would be so scared about in a 3-game series going less than 11.5 assists because it just feels like all you need are a couple crazy team fights over the course of those 3 games for those assists.
You just need
to land,
one
right?
game to get bloody, and it's
Yeah.
GG. Yeah.
But I'm excited to see if Croissant can outwit us. He has a superior game knowledge to me. So what am I saying? All right, Cubby, what you got?
I have the one I've pressured myself to make one involving the first series. And so the one Weibo square that I actually ended up liking is Tarzan more than 5.5 kills. I really feel like if backs are up against the wall, Weibo's going to put Tarzan on a carry. That's what they did against D+, and so I'm banking on that. The other one is Carrier more than 25.5 assists. Because looking at assists, if you win a game, you're going to have like anywhere from 4x to 6x the amount of assists of the opponent team. But unless a game gets bloody, in which case, so that's like a blowout, right? If the game gets bloody, then it could be like any like 1.5x the amounts of assists compared to an opponent team or 2. So my theory with this is that I think this is going to be a close series. If through games like 1 through 3, there is one bloodbath and one game that T1 wins, this hits.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. Like even if T1 gets smoked in a game, that's all they need. So yeah, I'm hopeful that for this one. I also favor T1 in this series. So
Okay,
I like the Carrier Square a lot. The Tarzan one I don't love, but I don't have a jungler in mind where I'm like, and then they lock this in, and then I'm like, okay, this is because it is only 3. It's get across 3, so like it's 2, and like that's technically doable. But is there like a specific champion you're gonna be like,
Brand.
and we need to find? Is it? Oh, it's Brand. Okay,
we're getting a Brand game in there. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. If I do see a Brand locked in, I'm like, Cubby wins for the week for sure.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that they're going to expand or reach kind of deeper into Tarzan's pool as like a thing that gives him confidence, because I don't think he's been as comfortable on some other picks, and that Skarner won't really be open, but he did go 1-1 and 11 on Brandon, 1-2 and 14 on Morgana. So even with a lot of the carry picks, I think a lot of the carry picks end up being high DPS, and so it'd be great to be able to do more or less on like DPM and stuff. But in terms of like he's doing a lot of full clear rotations, show up to a team fight, do damage, but not have the ability to kill secure on a lot of those carry champions. Whereas it's really interesting to think about like in the draft, who like Kai'Sa's will end up being able to kill secure, right? And Weibo doesn't play any Kai'Sa, but LNG and Gala, Kai'Sa is his champion. So it's like, whereas Light, like he's been playing Ezreal, and I can't remember the last time I saw Gala play Ezreal, so that's like an interesting thing too. But obviously you have Ezreal's like Elk's Ezreal kill securing everybody in the final fights against G2. So you know, it can be hard.
All right, so just to confirm, you're at Tarzan more than 5.5 kills, and Carrier more than 25.5 assists.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we will lock those in. I know you guys have some other ones that you've built, or at least I think Elias you have one. So maybe we'll do that. I don't want to make the show go super long because I know it's already going to go kind of long. We try to keep these shorter, but if people hang out after stream, maybe we'll share some more. So if these folks feel like it. All right. I would like to create a audience or chat lineup here. So Croissant, give me a number between 1 and 40.
7.
7. Okay. Then I would like sorry. And then Elias, I would like you to give me a number between 1 and 15.
14.
14. Okay. And then finally, Cubby, I would like you to give me a number between 1 and 40.
Pick a good assist square.
We'll keep the multiples of 7 going.
You said 28. 2x. Okay. So here we go, chat. Here's what you're going to be. Here's the lineup. The first option is Tarzan at more or less than 19.5 assists in the first 3 games.
Oh, that's a terrible square.
So
that's rough.
It's a juggle option. So we're going to do a poll. I mean, you guys were saying that about the last one, and I feel like that everybody crushed it. So
it's just, do you think Weibo wins 2 games or not? Out of the first 3. That is what the square is, which is why it's a terrible square.
YouTube frogs, we're doing a poll over on Twitch, so if you feel like participating in the poll, I just don't have the hands to be able to produce the show and also run these polls concurrently. So while that is running, I don't want you guys already sway it too much, so I'm not going to be asking you guys which direction you think it's going to go. But I guess I'll ask you, Croissant, which of these matchups this week are you most looking forward to watching?
I think obviously watching matchups that have been played out a bunch, like TL Fly or Weibo LNG, are less exciting for me. Not obviously, but just personal preference. So I'm really excited for T1 TES because we've seen it before, but there has been a like the ebb and flow of like Jackie Love and Fakers, like those players are both players that are so consistent in the long run of things, but within one worlds or with one tournament, there can be a lot more variance. Will Faker, like some people might be favoring TES, but Faker is still never lost in quarters, 8 out of 8 to semis. So it's just crazy. I think that that's going to be the match that I'm definitely going to be awake for at 5 a.m. The other ones I might be drifting in and out and then rewatching later. So we'll see.
I realized I accidentally made the poll 2 minutes long, so we still have a little bit more time. But go vote, everybody. Right now, Les is winning. So if you think Tarzan is going to get less than 19 and a half assists, then you're in a good spot. But if you think he's going to get more, chat, this is your integrity on the line here. Right now, you are performing as good, if not better, than all these contestants. So you better keep that track record going. And in the final moments here, it looks like Tarzan is going to be locked in at less than 19 and a half assists. Okay. So the next square for the chat is going to be
14.
Let's see. Viper. Viper at more or less than 14 and a half kills in the first 3 maps.
Popular player. The Elk Viper match is going to be really fun, by the way.
It's going to be super cool.
Yeah, this is a banging series. The number 1 seed from each region. I'm really hoping that BLG can pick it up because I still don't feel like BLG's gameplay is there to win this series.
Yeah.
While Travis starts the poll and we wait for chat's input, what was... I don't know if y'all have already done your predictions for each of the series, but which is the one you're having the most difficulty with?
Honestly, it's LNG Weibo. I feel very confident in T1. I think T1's meta read and the way they've been playing early games has actually been outstanding. Like I could see T1 winning the tournament. I think T1 Gen G could also be the true final. When this is all said and done.
All right. So the answer is from the chat, overwhelmingly more. Overwhelmingly more people think Viper is going to get more than 14 and a half kills. So we'll go ahead and lock that in. What are you guys for or against that?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think HLE wins 2 games.
Okay.
Even though you guys already said out loud like Viper Elk hype matchup, I wasn't processing until I looked at the chat that these are... I'm just imagining like a snake wrapping itself. That's not even what vipers do. I think they just bite and kill through poison or something. But just this matchup, the name recognition from Viper obviously way higher than Elk, who sounds like a very peaceful creature. He's not. I don't think it's obviously as skewed as chat has it here, but obviously it wouldn't be surprising for me if Viper gets to the 14.5 mark.
I do think for that square to pay out, it is just going to take one. I thought to myself, is there one game in the first 3 games that Viper gets 10 kills, 8 to 10 kills? And I'm like, yeah, that probably happens. And then
they have been playing heavily through him. And I love how active Peanut's been on the map. Like, Peanut's really enabling the laners for that team. So I do feel like that plays in the Viper's favor. And he should be able to pull that off against BLG. So,
fun fact, the final square is the Faker square. So Faker,
shit, hell yeah,
at more or less than 10 and a half kills in the first 3 games. So we're going to go ahead and put that
gonna vote.
Poll up. 10 and a half kills. Yes or no? Or no, I should say more or less.
Travis, do you mind if I repeat my question, but for Krasan on which is the...
Yeah.
Krasan, what do you think is the hardest matchup to predict?
Sorry, I'm just laughing at chat saying that Viper is going to speak a lot of Mandarin with Ezreal because it's like he did play in China and win Worlds on EDG, but I think he's going to be speaking bilingually in that series. Let's see. I definitely think that, again, T1 TES is going to be the hardest for me to read because Cream's pool I had issues with previously, but that was one of the the matches that I was most wrong about with TES, DK, and Showmaker. He didn't really recover after a series
Unfortunately.
against Cream, but uh, obviously Faker has matched up well in the Cream in the past, and so I think a lot of things are from what I'm seeing about how the teams play the map. I have as TES favored, but in terms of how Faker matches up into Cream and just the storyline and the aura of the teams, that's clashing. So numbers versus history and stuff like that. But
Surprisingly,
yeah.
people voted Faker less than 10.5 kills. People are Faker haters now. So we're going to be locking in Tarzan at less than 19.5, Viper at more than 14.5, Faker at less than 10.5. That's the chat's will for this episode. Stick around afterwards. I'll put this in as a flex pick, by the way. Stick around afterwards if you're watching live, because I'm going to ask my friends for some additional fun lineups. But hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. We'll be back on probably, Thursday. We'll have to do Thursday to see how everything has gone. But thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Oh, wait, one last thing. I almost forgot. Prize Picks is doing a giant giveaway.
Right.
Yeah, there's a link in the description. And also over in chat, you can do ! giveaway. We're giving away with Prize Picks 100 different free lineups to win up to $1,000 in USD. So go sign up for that. There's a ton of ways to do it. Probably a lot of ways that you were already doing, like subscribing to the YouTube channel or following me on Twitch. But yeah, like we're giving away 100 of these things. So there's a pretty good chance of you getting one. I was even just under the idea that maybe we'd give away like, I don't know, a handful. And then they were like, no, let's do 100. So please, please, please go sign up for Prize Picks, the Prize Picks giveaway, because that's going to be really cool. So there you go.